Okay, hello everybody. I am on the phone today with a instrumental composer by the name of Darko Saric. And Darko is from Lima, Peru. Darko studied composition at the National Conservatory of Music in Peru and moved to, you live in New York, correct, Darko?
Yes. I'm living right now in New York City.
In New York City in 2006. And Darko has been involved in the music licensing industry for the last couple of years and has licensed quite a few of his tracks in a variety of TV shows. And Darko, if you could talk, a little bit about how you got involved in the music licensing industry and the steps you took to get started when you initially got started, that would be great.
Well, first, thank you for this interview. I began when I moved to New York City. I began working with some singer-songwriters and bands, doing production.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, I began to see on the internet that the new thing was getting your music on TV.
Sure.
TV and films and this new media. So I began to do a search, which will be the best way to put music, and I was introduced to the world of music libraries. More of the music libraries that are online, they
Mm-hmm.
have like a very open submission. So I like that because I don't know that many people in the business, because
Sure.
I just moved here 2006, and I say, well, if they have an open submission and I don't know to really know anybody, so my music is picked up, I begin to send some tracks that I already have done, and they begin to respond to my emails in a very positive way. So I begin to make more music, and just begin to do searchings, the Google music libraries, and every time that I see a music library that have a nice website and they have a good deal, I just send the music and begin to work with those when they have like the open submission.
Sure. So
like
how
the first one was Pump Audio.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that one. Mm-hmm.
And Darko, how long did it take you from the time you first started pursuing music licensing to the time you actually had one of your songs on a TV show? Do you remember approximately how long it took you to actually go from point A to actually having your music aired on a television show?
I assume there was because Pump Audio takes like maybe 3 or 4 months to put the music on their catalog.
Mm-hmm.
I will say like maybe 9 months, 10 months.
Okay.
I got maybe one song
Sure.
that somebody, one of my friends, a musician, he heard it on the TV and he was able to TiVo and put it on YouTube, and he sent me the link.
So he actually heard your song on TV before you did.
Yeah, he heard it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, did you know that particular song was going to be on television, or did that come?
No. That was luck because most of the time the libraries, they can't tell you. They don't have, I think, because they are working with so much music. They can't really tell you to which program they are pitching their songs.
Sure, because they're dealing with such a large volume of writers, right?
Yes. The more near they tell you, like it goes to, for example, to AMC promos, but you don't know which of the programs of AMC are going to finish.
Sure, and just I want to interject really quickly for the listeners that my experience has been a little bit differently. I've worked with a smaller publisher, and typically if they know in advance, I'm usually notified in advance when my songs are on television, but it's not always the case. Sometimes even with smaller publishers, they simply don't know, and so you oftentimes find out after the fact, which is a little anticlimactic, but it's still, I imagine it was still pretty exciting when you heard your music on TV for the first time, right?
Yeah, it's excited. It's like it cheers you up to hear that, because sometimes you don't know if you're doing the right thing. If you're really connecting with the people that are needing your music to put on the TV. So when you hear that, you say like, okay, so I'm doing a good job.
Exactly.
So that's good.
Exactly. Well, Darko, let's talk a little bit about some of the credits you have in the music licensing industry. I was pretty impressed. I mean, you really haven't been at this a really long time, and you've racked up quite a few credits here. I have a short list. I'm sure you have more, but your music has been heard on the TV show Mad Men, MTV's Celebrity Rehab, the show Valentine on CW11, ESPN's Best Damn Investigation and Best Damn Sports Show, as well as Access Hollywood. Do you have any idea in total how many different placements you've had in the last couple years or so?
Well, it's really difficult to know, because, for example, when I work, the ones that give you like at least twice. Well, in this case, Pump Audio give you twice per year, the check, and also what they were able to license the music, and Rumblefish, they give it to you. I think it's each quarter. So most of the time you only see like one song, the name of the song, and then promos ABC, or they don't exactly tell you, the program. But if I count all of those plus the one for Rumblefish, is like more than 50 times.
Sure. Well, no, I think that's great, Darko. I mean,
only those two. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's
more
a lot of.
With only those two.
Yeah. No, that's a lot of placements in a relatively short period of time. Darko, if we could talk next a little bit about, I just want to give people an idea of how much money they can make via music licensing. And I want to preface this by saying, and you and I talked about this earlier, that instrumental music is a little bit different than vocal music in terms of the amount of performance royalties that are generated. Instrumental music...
Yes.
Yeah, instrumental music not always, but oftentimes is weighted less significantly in terms of the royalties that it generates. But what I thought was interesting is that you've generated some pretty significant licensing fees. If you could talk a little bit about some of the different libraries you've written for, and I know you mentioned that you've written for at least one or two libraries where you're actually paid up front. So if you could kind of give people an idea of how much money you're making from licensing fees, that would be great.
Yes, definitely. It's really different between when you work as a songwriter and when you work as just a music composer for instrumentals. When you work doing instrumental, it's more about volume. And in my case, volume and quality.
Sure.
Because it's the more you have, the more licenses fees that you get, as you say before, because the royalties, you don't get that much money in the back end from royalties. That's the way it works, and so you have to play with the rules until they change. So my idea, it's as a composer of background music, instrumental, is to work in two different environments. One with non-exclusive libraries, and also work with exclusive libraries.
Okay.
When I work with non-exclusive libraries, I try to develop my own catalog. So I try to have to try to make at least between 5 and 7 songs per month for myself.
Mm-hmm.
No songs, tracks. So I try to put at least 5 tracks per month out there to the non-exclusive libraries. At the same time, because they are giving you money in the back end, so you don't see the money right away. You need cash.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to work also for exclusive contracts. There is a work for hire. When you get the money in the up front, or when they accept the music, depending on the contract that you have, and most of the time they pay between 500 to 800. That's what I know. Sometimes some people tell me that I have seen some interviews on internet. Sometimes they give you 1,000. I haven't seen that, but in my personal experiences, between 500 and 800. And you need to try to do at least 20 songs, 20 tracks in a year at least.
Sure. No, Darko. Let me interject.
That's your minimal.
Let me ask you a quick question, Darko. Are you, when you make these tracks and present them to the libraries that you're working with, do they accept these songs on a track by track basis, or do you have an agreement where you write a certain number of songs per year? Could you talk about how that works?
It depends on the library. Some libraries tell you we have openings for rock, pop, electronica, and we have they say 15 opening for one, 10 opening for one, 5 opening for the other genre, and you just try to do your best, and you just submit the music.
Sure.
And they just go and pick the one that they like.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. I find that okay for me because I'm doing all the tracks. So I really do my best on the tracks. So at the end, if they don't pick up 2 or 3 or any amount of tracks that they don't pick up, I really don't mind, because I know that they are good. They didn't pick them up because maybe they don't need as much in that genre. So when they don't pick it up, I can put those in the non-exclusive tracks, and they are going to get. It's good for me anyway.
Sure, you end up finding a use for it, regardless of what happens.
Yes. It's not going to. It's no. There's no how you say this way to go wrong.
Sure.
It's one picking the track, or is maybe another library pick it up, or you use it for your personal catalog.
Sure.
At the end, if you're doing a good job, it's going to find a home. So it's
sure.
going to find their own way.
Well, that's a great.
How does it work?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Darko.
Yeah. That's it.
That's a great attitude, and Darko, your music. I'm really impressed with the quality of tracks that you're producing. I'm not surprised that you've had the success that you've had, and if you could talk a little bit about some of the production techniques you utilize, that would be great. But before you do, Darko, for those of you listening to this interview, I'm putting up a couple of Darko's tracks on this page. So below this audio clip, you should see a couple links to Darko's tracks. Darko, you do instrumental music, obviously. What I was really surprised and impressed with are, your overall production sounds great, but you're working with sequence drums, and I was really impressed. You could have fooled me when I initially heard your tracks. I just sort of assumed they were live drum tracks, but they're not. And if you could talk a little bit, Darko, about some of the production techniques you utilize. You don't have to give away all your secrets, but if you could just kind of give people an idea of what you're doing, because whatever you're doing obviously is working.
The secret really is using loops.
Mm-hmm.
I use loops, and I use Reason. and use, Rex loops. So what I like about Rex loops is that you're able to tweak the loops. So sometimes when the fills or some patterns of the kick or the snare you don't like, you can do a different pattern within the same loop. So that's something I like about Rex. And the other thing I like is that because you have like how you say this, like a human feeling of the track, because the Rex loops are not quantified. They have the feeling of the drummer. Most of the time I layer, another kick or another snare, using the same MIDI, the same MIDI that the Rex loop gives me. So, for example, if you work with Reason, you will know what I mean. I just copy the Rex to another sequencer, on another track, and I just erase everything except for the snare hits, and I then double layer the snare or the kick, so it gives you a little more punch. So because the problem with these loops is that you don't have independence in the volume and the EQ of the drums, but you can play with layers. So if you want, for example, a snare that is sounding too dark, you can layer a more snappy snare, and you can layer that on top of the loop, and it will give you that more edgy sound. If you're
so Darko, when you say layers, are you layering different drum samples to come up with more of a unique sound? Or?
Yes. Yes. So you have the main loop, and then what you use is you use another, for example, another snare sound, and you put that on top of the snare that is already there.
Sure.
Or, for example, the kick. Most of the time, it's a snare and kick. Really, what I'm layering.
Yeah. Well, no, that's
crashes here and there.
That's a great tip, and I get sent quite a bit of instrumental music, and if there's one thing that in general fails to impress me, it's drum sound. So you have obviously some cool techniques that you're utilizing, and you've created some great drum sounds. Now, what about the rest of your instrumental tracks? Are you doing? Are you using live guitars, for example, or are you doing all MIDI stuff?
No, guitars are all play. That's my instrument, and if I can say that's my sound, well, it's like, at least it's what I play, and I enjoy playing, making new sounds. Tweaking I have like 3 or 4 different guitar processors and a bunch of pedals and things like that. So that's the part I like to spend a little more time. Never use a preset, and sometimes I prefer always to come up with a new sound of amp every time that I can. So it's like, I don't like that's what I like. I try to, when I have a new song or a new track, I have like an initial, because I use the pod or I use adrenaline. I put, I begin to use them as I am like recording a real amp, instead of, I begin to tweak the bass, the treble, and find a nice sound for that track.
Cool. Well. Again, your tracks sound great, and to everyone listening to this, I would encourage you to check out Darko's music. Again, there's a couple links below this audio clip. Check those out. And Darko, if people are interested in learning more about you and your music, do you have I'm sure you have a website that I can direct people to. Is it your MySpace site, or do you have a different site that?
Yes.
I'll go.
For the moment, I just have.
You have your MySpace, correct?
Yes. For the moment, I have a MySpace. I'm building right now the darkosaric.com, but it's taking me a little time.
Sure.
I try to do it myself. So if I can do it, I will need to hire somebody to do it. But I'm having fun trying to do it myself.
So if there are any
for the moment,
if there are any web designers out there listening, you might be in need of a web designer.
yeah. So far, I have my brother that is he's a designer, so he's doing some stuff. So I'm trying to do something simple but with taste. But it's taking me a little time, but I might finish it in maybe this coming month. But in the moment, I'm using my MySpace. That is myspace.com/Darko Saric.
Cool. Well, I will go ahead and include a link to that as well. Darko, I just want to say thanks a lot. This has been a great interview. It's taken us a couple of weeks to make this happen, but I really appreciate you taking the time to share some of your experiences working in the music licensing business.
Thank you, Aaron, for this for the interview, and it's my pleasure.
Great, Darko. Well, Darko, you hang on a second. I will talk to you a little more here. But thanks a lot, Darko. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you.